This was the very point where I parted for my holidays a week ago. I wanted to get to know the Sitia Nature Park, a particular record of geological and cultural inheritance. With me being amongst locals and tourists, this was the point where my first acquaintance to this magical place happened. A gate I passed through in order to start my exploration, knowing that in the end of my journey, I was going to find myself here, at this very point, once again. The thing I was not quite acquainted to, though, was that, just like in the science fiction movies, the station, any station, is a gate in time. It was as if I had been here since millions of years, when the history of this earth had started to roll on. I registered the time signs to the last detail. Me, myself, was the earth, a gigantic sponge gathering the rainwater. I was full of ditches and holes, once visible, once hidden, within unending underground labyrinths. I have been the place in which perpetual phenomena of nature had worked things out a long time before man had made his appearance. Crete, a piece of earth at the exact point where two of the biggest tectonic plates of our planet, the one of Africa and that of Eurasia, converge, was me. This convergence causes huge earthquakes and realignments, and it results to the sinking of Africa beneath Europe. Crete was once covered by sea, and its first piece of land appeared 23 million years ago. Then the united land of Aegeida, which included Crete, the Cyclades and the mainland of Greece, linked Aegean Pelagos with Asia Minor. There followed huge sinkings of earth, which divided this earth into many smaller islands. 1.5 million years ago, as the land was ascending, many of these islands united, forming a whole which led to the present shape of Crete. The battle between the land and the sea was long and violent, and it left profound traces behind. On this place, with its rocks, which broke, got compressed, got crushed and transformed many a times until now. I watched nature creating by putting into its canvas the flow of the rivers as the water was curving and sculpting the relief of the island. These were moments of paroxysm of nature, which created gorges like the ones of Chochlakia at Zakros and the Toplou monastery. Water was actually me. I had been working perpetually throughout the centuries, underground, corroding the porous calcareous base. I widened the underground cracks, planning to create a labyrinth-like system of drains and chambers. I was there in order to carve the ground, so as to create a special landscape with underground waterfalls, gowers, brooks and lakes. I have been flowing through minute and immense caves, bringing to life the surrounding areas up till now. I was the time and the air which decorated the caves with labyrinthian chambers and galleries, stalactites, stalagmites and wavy calcite curtains. I was the inspiration which brought to life a unique world. I have been amongst the birds, the mammals, and the aquatic beings that inhabited the island long before the appearance of humans. Nowadays, their secrets are revealed to scientists through the sparse fossils found at many places, such as dwarf hippos, Cretan elephants, sea urchins, bivalves and rudists, which have left their traces forever on Sitia's petrifications. I lived here 8.5 million years ago so as to see the Dinotherium giganteum from the area of Agia Fotia. This was an impressive mammal, its dimensions reaching 4.5 meter height and 6.5 meters length. As the scientists who work in the Natural History Museum explain, it is possible that when the animal died, it was quickly covered by some sort of river overflow that carried stones and sand, which quickly buried the bones, and with the passing of time, the organic material is transformed into inorganic. This whole process created a fossilized animal. I was the human, the inhabitant, the mystic, the merchant. I was in the cities we constructed after we had looked for the most appropriate, the richest and the most strategic position. We haven't chosen at all by chance the place where to build the city of Zakros. The neighboring quarries have been providing us with ample building material over the years. The valley at the estuary of the adjacent gorge offered us water of its many water sources. In order to build the administrative center of the city, we followed the architectural structure of the rest of the known Minoan palaces, which were traditionally organized around a rectangular central courtyard. So the safe port of Zakros has been the gate to the island from the eastern Mediterranean Sea, where raw materials such as copper, earthenware, and elephant tusks were imported. Nevertheless, apart from being our source of life, this part of the earth was also our last home. The Gorge of the Dead accommodated our ancestors' tombs within the caves and the rocked roofs, with its natural hollows always ready to accept the dead. Since then, the travelers meet our bizarre cemetery and hear the wind of the gorge, which carries throughout the centuries millions of prayers and farewell songs. I lived in the famous Itanos, which is nowadays called Erymoupolis. Itanos was in its heyday a very important commercial port, which served as a base to the Phoenician merchants. They had fisheries and also glass and textile workshops, where they used pure in the dyeing of their fabrics. According to Herodotus, once the Therians had come to Itanos following Pythia's advice, Korovios, the ancient purpure fisherman, led them to Libya. I have been at the most remote points of this place, at the furthest edge of Kado Sidero, at the ancient Cape Samonion. I saw the Argonauts disembark and build the temple of Samonia Athena. In this eerie landscape, the kingdom of the natural elements, the navigators going east adored the gods of the winds. I have changed shape often over time. I passed amongst the purple and mauve sedimentary rocks, and I shook off me the dust of the purple-colored shale and phyllites. I took a rest next to the famous sources of Zakros. I found myself at the middle-aged village of Voila, most probably first home of the national poet Dionellis and his family. I also found myself at the historical Skalya, where during the Turkish domination period were marked by the betrayal of the priest of Zakros against the people who were fighting for freedom. I heard him calling them, pretending he wanted to conduct the Holy Communion in the Saint Paraskevis church after he had asked them to down their arms outside the church. I saw Turks laying in wait to attack and slaughter them all. Up to this day, the heroic Skalya remains desolate, but the area remains still evocative, emerging within the rocky plateau Sitanos and the history haze due to the fact it was never taught in schools. At short distance away from the Chochlakes village, I walked along the path that leads to the Chochlakes gorge. I descend the Chochlakes gorge following the traces of water which forms a streamlet throughout the most months of the year. Chochlaki, in Cretan dialect, means the smooth and rounded stones of the waterfalls and of the rivers. I step on the Chochlaki, and the gorge echoes the voice of the stone. The view is just stunning. I was the voices, the echoes, which had been roosted for years and years in the hundreds of caves, such as 7 sealed secrets. At the Karidi village is nowadays placed the base of speleological shelter, not accidentally, as it exists in the center of an area which within the last few years attracts the interest for the study, the mapping, and the photographing of international speleological missions. More than 160 caves and cave precipices of the Sitia area have been researched up till now. Minor and major Katofigi, Pelekita, Oxolatsidi, Vorino, Honositanu, Ano Peristeras, and caves which count more than 10,000 meters of underground itineraries. Within darkness, the stamp of the flow of water often betrays the existence of old rivers, while several caves are nowadays active underground rivers. The caves filter our drinking water as it goes through different straws of rocks and successive siphons. Last, but not least, though within the darkness and the silence of the caves, one may discover the power of the minimum. I have been here for decimals of years, and here I still remain. Amongst the life of wilderness, which was born next to the surface waterfalls and the brooks, which had formed small natural habitats. In the mountainous area of Sitia, and mainly within its gorges, there, where some of the rarest Cretan endemic plants can be met, But I have also been in the coastal area whereby the tiny sand lily frees its delicate smell when at its height of blossoming end of August. I sat under the shade of Theophrastos palm tree at the Vai palm tree forest, a unique tree in Greece which is protected by the international legislation. I found myself within the passing of the migratory birds, whereby more than 250 species have been recorded. Alatsolimni at Xerokapos is ideal migratory place for many migratory birds like herons and flamingos. During winter, Alatsolimni is flown by water, and so it becomes a small lagoon whereby many birds which live or search for food near water take a rest. Also, one can observe predatory birds like the harrier eagle, the bird of prey, the golden eagle, the robin and the golden falcon, not only on the mountainous areas of nesting, but also in the brushwood lowlands around Sitia or Vai. Starlings, which make their nests on neighboring little islets, get also their food here during springtime. Water is amiss during summertime, but the place acquires a different kind of liveliness, as the fests start within the villages, but also near the country churches. The very same hills and mountains, which once were places of worshipping the gods for the Minoans, are yet again the places where people express their gratitude for the presence of the earth. Worshipping of God needs the sounds of the violin and the Lyra, and one can still hear the echo of the steps of the light characteristic dance of Sitia on the stones where the ancestral inhabitants of the island first stepped on. This place knows how to pay back for people's faith. Its harvest gives the raw material for the local recipes using pure olive oil and herbs collected from the mountains of Sitia. Thyme, savory, oregano and sage, honey and tasty almonds, raisins and walnuts, curdled milk, sweets made in Sitia, and grapes from which the famous local wine is made. During the summer, the place opens its embrace to welcome it, offering numerous choices at the hospitable coasts of eastern Crete, displaying the most blue flags of any other Greek region. There are serene and remote coasts ideal for relaxation, like the one at Erymoupolis, and others which favor sea sports, such as Kouremenos Place, which for years and years attracts worldwide windsurfers' interest. Within the limits of Sitia Nature Park, I followed the newly repaired and specially signed ancient trails and the bicycle path which gives tens of thousands of excuses for wandering around the inland of the county. My co-travelers were thousands of different species of plants, many of them indigenous to which this place offers hospitality every season of the year. When I reached Crete, I was informed by the Information Bureau and I visited the National History Museum of Epano Zakros. Thousands of caves, like the one of Ano Peristeras, provide chances for unique explorations to those with special training or those who are accompanied by experienced guides, while there are many insufficiently risky climbing areas, like the one at Zakros for those who adore the adrenaline rush. Historical villages, Byzantine churches, monasteries, castles and archaeological monuments ornament this place, sometimes appear proudly in front of me, and other times they are very well concealed, therefore provoking the explorer to discover them. I am the first rain, which will make the dry soil to breathe again. The new circle of life that begins with a new bed, which needs to be one again. I will be again the earth and the men that together will have to co-travel, having as their compass the moderation the place itself imposes on them. Even though this walking along together becomes more and more difficult, because nothing is more worthwhile than our effort to be together. Earth and wind, water and the rocks, the plants, the birds, the stars, and the men. There are many reasons why we could adjust from being strangers to getting more and more acquainted with each other, getting closer and closer. Let the stories of the place converse with our stories, but also with our everyday worries which concern the protection of the place. And whomsoever steps on this land with respect will always be most welcome.
Οι επιβάτες με προορισμό το Ηράκλειο παρακαλούνται να επιβιβαστούν στο λεωφορείο 55. Το λεωφορείο αναχωρεί σε 10 λεπτά. Ευχαριστώ. Passengers to Iraq